your nation, your province, your southern Alberta. From the heart of Lethbridge, it's Bridge City News Weekend Edition with Hal Roberts.
Thanks so much for joining us. Many truckers with the Freedom Convoy have arrived in Ottawa. A number of supporters say they're fighting for our freedoms and will not leave until COVID-19 mandates are either scrapped and or Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has resigned. Bridge City News has a team in Ottawa, including David Craig, Jeremy Prest, and Paul Osario covering the event. BCN's David Craig joins me now. David, let's talk about your journey getting to Ottawa and the support you saw along the way for our truckers as the BCN team drove from Medicine Hat all the way to our nation's capital. That's quite the drive. Now, you guys caught up with the convoy in Sault Ste. Marie after driving around, 28 hours?
It was amazing to see, no matter how big or small the towns were, the cities were, farming communities, there was amazing support. One place that stands out is Nairn Centre. Literally showed up with thousands of people, and it looked like Costco aisles of food that they were giving all the convoy as they were driving through. Beautiful scene.
Now, some of the mainstream media are saying the Russians are behind the convoy because of Canada's support of Ukraine. They're also downplaying the numbers of truckers and their supporters. What have you seen so far?
You know, it's really hard to pinpoint the exact numbers. I've talked with some of the leaders of this, and they're saying that they've had over 50,000 people register, or truckers register, to actually be in Ottawa. But there are many different convoy groups that's coming from all over Canada. And those convoy groups, they get splintered off as well. The one that we connected with, I know, is about 1,000 semis strong, plus a ton of additional vehicles that have joined in. And there is, we know of lots of different convoys. I know I at least have 13 or 14 that are making their way from all directions over here.
Now, you've had a chance to chat with a few supporters earlier today in Ottawa. Let's hear from them now.
Hey Martin, why are you here?
For freedom, for all my friends, my family. I sacrifice very much money for here, but it's amazing. That's an historic moment. You know what I mean?
100%.
Woohoo!
Hey guys, I'm here with Nick. Nick, tell us where you're from.
I'm from Quebec, South Shore, Montreal.
Right on. So why are you here?
I'm here for, the future of my children. I got my youngest is 3 years old. She never seen a real Christmas yet. I mean, it's outrageous for what coronavirus is, and so I'm here to provide them a future. I mean, I'm here for freedom, and I'm here because I had to be here. I mean, it's our duty.
The Freedom Convoy GoFundMe initiative has raised over $8 million to date. Now, that's apparently more than what the Trudeau Liberals raised in the last federal election. GoFundMe says there have been more than 102,000 donations to the convoy from over 22,000 people. David, what does this say about the support?
Yeah, it's unreal, Hal. It's seeing how many people, it shows the widespread thinking of these Canadians is not the same thing, or it actually goes way farther than what we think. You know, there's always a group of people that will act and run out, and they represent a broader group of Canadians who think the same and feel the same. And this is a magnificent sign of support that is gathering here in Ottawa. Just a ton of credit to those people who are being able to raise and create this awareness.
Now, some of the mainstream media have talked about extremists, including white supremacists, latching onto the convoy. A tweet of a Confederate flag flying in the back of a pickup truck has gone viral. Now, what do you make of this?
When we've been here, we've been seeing nothing but a joyous celebration from people, lots of chants of freedom and love and unity. I've heard a lot of people say that the slogan, "We're all in this together," actually means something now when they've been here. I think for every group that's gathered, you look at different politicians, different leaders of our countries, when they do gatherings, there's always some people in there trying to disrupt, always some people trying to get in there and make false representations. So there's going to be some people like that gather just in the sheer amounts of numbers of people getting together, but that does not represent what everyone is here for. Talking with organizers, talking with truckers right here who's parked along Wellington, right in front of Parliament Hill, they do not want to see anything of that sort. They are here to promote unity for Canada and freedom to choose, and a government that actually represents the people.
Thanks so much, David. That was BCN's David Craig joining us from the Freedom Convoy in Ottawa. And just a reminder, you can receive more updates from our team in our nation's capital by following us on our Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter accounts. Tamara Litch with the Freedom Convoy has been connecting with viewers from across Canada and around the world via social media. Earlier today, Litch encouraged Canadians to keep supporting the truckers explaining why they're in Ottawa and what their motivation has been behind this large convoy. Litch says, as a group, they are unified and the demonstration in our nation's capital will be peaceful.
This is a family event. We will be peaceful and we will not instigate anything.
Coming up, a chat with another Alberta politician who is supporting our truckers in Ottawa. Stay with us. Welcome back. A number of Alberta politicians have been supporting the truckers and the Freedom Convoy to Ottawa, including independent Cypress Medicine Hat MLA Drew Barnes. Drew joins us now from Medicine Hat. Drew, what are your thoughts on this movement so far?
Oh, Hal, I'm so thankful and grateful that first of all, for what the truckers have done for us, their extra efforts through the pandemic, keeping our shelves full, our economy strong, but particularly now, the fact that these truckers, these organizers, donors, and now tens of thousands of Alberta and Canadian supporters have found the courage to really express in a peaceful, respectful way their strong desire and need for freedom, freedom from the mandates, economic freedom. And, when you see so many people step up with their time and their money and a singular message, I'm so grateful that and appreciative that they've done this. And now it's up to the politicians and the policymakers to listen and to react accordingly.
How do you think Justin Trudeau and the Liberals will respond to this convoy?
Well, they need to respond to this. Clearly, when tens and tens of thousands of Canadians and Albertans speak with one voice in a very respectful way, get involved in our system, as is their duty, and with the extreme courage that they've showed, it is up now to Prime Minister Trudeau and the Liberal cabinet. It's up to provincial premiers to respect what they're being asked for. Hal, it comes back to the fact that, 23 months of COVID mandates and COVID restrictions here in Cypress Medicine Hat, as all of Canada, the mandate and situation have caused as many crises and as much hardship as COVID itself. My goodness, we've been through a mental health, an economical health, and a physical health crisis, and Albertans and Canadians are expressing their strong need for freedom, their strong need to have their voices heard. And Hal, unfortunately, we've seen all too often where we're in Ottawa and premiers across the country haven't responded to what the needs are of individuals, families, when it comes to protecting civil liberties, individual rights.
Canadians are extremely frustrated with the lockdowns and the mandates. Drew, is there an end in sight?
I hope the end in sight is coming. And we can start and look at some of the failures, the fact that provinces haven't been able to increase ICU beds, the fact that now with Omicron, it seems like the spread is in the 24th month is as wide as ever. So we need to accept that COVID will be with us. We need to accept that individuals and families are great at taking care of each other. And it's a situation where very, very much so, premiers and prime ministers need to recognize that this is more than just a health crisis. It's a crisis of our civil liberties. It's a crisis of our economy. It's a crisis of our families, and we need to have that involved in the decision making as well. And it's time to move forward.
Thanks so much, Drew. That was independent Cypress Medicine Hat MLA Drew Barnes joining us from Medicine Hat. It's not just in Ottawa where people are protesting. Truckers headed to the Coutts Border Crossing here in Alberta with a slow roll and a powerful message for our politicians. BCN's Angela Stewart has that story.
Honking horns and roaring engines, truck drivers and supporters from all over southern Alberta gathering at the Flying J truck stop bright and early just before heading down to the Coutts Land Border Crossing to spread an important message.
We're hoping to achieve the end of all mandates for all Canadians, especially Albertans.
This convoy, similar like the one happening in Ottawa, but these drivers hoping to make a bigger impact by blocking the border.
We figured we could do all this kind of stuff all at the same time. Those guys going into Ottawa, we can make a stronger and bigger statement.
Supporters say Canadians have been under the restrictions for far too long.
The 2 weeks to flatten the curve is gone. It's come and gone long ago. We're now in 2 years and we still aren't getting the results that they've been promising. It's time to stop. It's time to stop the mandates. People are tired.
People even showing up and parking their vehicles on the side of the highway to show their support for the participants of the convoy.
We see that the Albertans, the Canadians, they don't want this.
Honestly, I never expected it to get this big, but it obviously shows the province, the country, that we don't agree with the decisions that are being made.
Well, a pretty massive turnout from truck drivers and supporters from all over Alberta just before the Coutts Border Crossing, as you can see behind me. Now, organizers of this convoy tell me they hope this blockade will send a message to the Kenny government and the Trudeau Liberals with the hope that all COVID-19 mandates will be dropped. Reporting from the Coutts Border Crossing for Bridge City News, I'm Angela Stewart.
Bridge City News met with a farming family in Ottawa who's supporting the Freedom Convoy. That interview is coming up. Our Bridge City News Ottawa team was wading through the ever-increasing crowds and found this very touching story of a Canadian farm family from Ontario who are showing their support at Freedom Convoy 2022.
It's contagious what's going on here. We're going to try and get to the front, catch what's going on, and just hear from the Canadian people themselves. Let's go. I'm jealous of you, I'm going to be honest. This is amazing. I'm jealous of you. It's fantastic.
Right from Montreal.
Awesome, man. Awesome. All the way from Calgary. Calgary, yeah, 40-hour drive. Huh? No, I'm a news that we're honestly trying to show the positive side of this.
Yeah.
The mainstream's just twisted this, trying to make it look like evil people that are trying to twist it. So we're going out of our way.
Friends here.
How you doing?
What's your name?
Jeremy. Can I get you guys on film?
Yeah, sure.
I want to show every positive person I can get my hands on.
I'm Jack.
Awesome.
We're with the Ontario.
Okay, well, our camera's here. Let's turn around. So this is our camera guy here. We're Bridge City News, and I want to know, where are you guys from?
Ottawa.
All the way from
We're farmers.
Awesome, awesome.
We're from Woodlawn.
Well, what brought you guys here today? What is you?
Well, we're members of the Ontario Landowners Association. We've been fighting for freedoms and property rights for years.
Yeah.
And we think what the truckers are doing is just wonderful. It's amazing.
Yeah.
You know, it's a fight that needs to be fought, and thank you to all the truckers for doing it.
Yeah.
They've made the world pay attention to Canada, and the same concerns are happening in every country in the world.
Absolutely.
So this could be as part of the beginning of change, getting back to freedom and justice and what is right. And telling government they work for us.
Amen.
They need to be listening to us, and they need to respect our constitutional rights to freedom.
What would you say to maybe the mainstream media that's trying to twist this to make it look bad, make it look evil? What would you say to them?
How can you live with yourself?
Well,
It's sad for the Canadian people that are led in the wrong direction. I'm here for my grandchildren and my children to live in a country that you can make decisions and have pro-choice. You know,
And how can you keep lying? Like, you know, you lie every day to the Canadians. Do you sleep at night?
I know. We right before we came here, I literally was watching the news, and they said that this is the minority, and that they're not. Don't worry, they're just the minority, and they keep pushing that narrative. But honestly, all I see is love, kindness, peace, unity. Yeah.
So many people are smiling for the first time. They're not wearing masks. They're not afraid.
and children are smiling again.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming out and taking a stand. We appreciate it.
Well,
thank you for talking to us.
Thank you for being here. You guys have traveled a ways.
Absolutely.
And we need some truthful news.
Yeah.
And we depend on independent people like you.
Come check out Bridge City News, guys. Bridge City News, we're going to keep doing this. We got to show it.
Good for you.
Meanwhile, in Manitoba, protesters started out at Deacon's Corner and traveled along the perimeter through Winnipeg to voice similar concerns for freedoms to be restored in that province. Thanks to some of our viewers, we were able to capture the messages coming from the Winnipeg convoy. Have a look at what was on the hearts of some of the Manitobans this morning as they prepared for their convoy to the legislature.
I've joined the Freedom 2022 convoy here in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. We are helping support Ottawa, all the men and women in Ottawa. Man, this is exciting, guys. Canadians have finally come together. This is a true Canadian. When you see them love their brothers and sisters the way all this love is floating around here, it's so awesome. It's a God thing, and God is bringing freedoms back to Canada.
Hi, my name is Raymond Garand. We're on the east side of Manitoba. We're doing a drive into the city to show support for the convoy in Ottawa, and we strongly believe that mandates should be kind of straightened out, because we've got a lot of problems here that have to be rectified. And you know what? The federal and provincial governments have to understand that, because we have many people here that are hurting so bad. Depression's a big problem.
I'm a proud Canadian, and I'm telling you, I haven't seen the heart of Canadians come out like this in 2 to 3 years. Canada is uniting. Canada has to get back to proud sons and daughters who have freedom and life, and that's why I'm here today, for freedom in our nation. Go Canada!
The convoy in Winnipeg stretched 49 kilometers from the #1 highway all the way to Portage Avenue. Coming up after the break, we hear from Lethbridge MP Rachel Thomas, who too has thrown her support behind this rally. Stay with us. This month, there have been a number of big stories coming out of Ottawa impacting Canadians. Earlier this week, I had a chance to catch up with Lethbridge MP Rachel Thomas to talk about some of the hot-button issues. Now, if the Conservatives were in power in government, how would you make life more affordable for Canadians?
It's a fair question, Hal. You know, you're absolutely right. Canadians really are having a difficult time making ends meet, whether it's putting food on their table or paying their home heating bill or being able to afford a home. Canadians are struggling, and they're looking for answers. And the only answer that Trudeau is offering them is just to spend more money. But as he's spending more money, he's actually increasing the cost of living for Canadians. So the more he spends, the more we pay. That's the way that it works. And it's harmful. So, you know, if Conservatives were to form government, there's a few things that we would do very differently. You know, 1, stop printing money. 2, spend within your means. 3, don't spend on things that are not necessary. You know, you have to rein it in. A part of governing, a part of leadership is making difficult decisions. There's no way that you can appease everyone, but you do have to be responsible. You do have to try to serve the betterment of the country. You do have to, you know, pay attention to the well-being of Canadians and make sure that you're leading the country down a pathway toward economic stability and growth. And right now, we're just not seeing that by Prime Minister Trudeau. And so a Conservative government would definitely make that our priority.
You know, even the parliamentary budget officer says the Liberals' planned stimulus spending may not be necessary. So, Rachel, let me ask you, bottom line, why do you think the Trudeau Liberals keep spending and spending?
Well, I think it's knowing that, you know, when a government spends a lot of money, they can increase the dependency that people have on government. And when people are dependent on the government, you know, perhaps they're more likely to vote for them. Instead, what we should be doing is celebrating Canadians for who they are, for the incredible talent and ability that they possess, the gifts that they're able to, you know, invest in our country in order to help it thrive. I mean, Canadians are the problem solvers. They are the solution makers. They are the wealth generators that this country needs. We don't need more government. We need smaller government. We need to embrace, celebrate, and empower the Canadian people.
The Conservatives and NDP are demanding an emergency committee meeting to review the sale of a Chinese business takeover of a Canadian lithium company. Tell me more about that.
Sure, Hal. You know, I think ultimately what's happened here is that, you know, the Liberal government has failed to do diligence. In other words, they've neglected to do a thorough review process of this acquisition. And it's not, you know, it's not just me that's saying this, it's the experts that have reviewed this process, and they're saying this. They're saying that due diligence was not followed. They're saying that, you know, this is potentially a threat to our national security, that it wasn't taken seriously before this acquisition was completed. And so it's difficult to hear that. It's actually very angering to hear that, because a leader's primary responsibility, any prime minister, no matter what party they belong to, any prime minister, their first responsibility is to look after the safety and security of Canadians, the well-being of this country. And Trudeau, his government, his cabinet ministers neglected to do that in this scenario.
As Canada's shipbuilding strategy continues to pile up billions of extra taxpayers' dollars, now Public Services and Procurement Canada is quietly seeking what it calls influencers to push out messages that the program and the project was a huge success. It'll see the construction of new vessels for the Canadian Navy and Coast Guard. Rachel, those costs have simply skyrocketed.
Yeah, Hal, it's quite something, isn't it? The project was originally supposed to cost $26 billion. Now it's at $77 billion, and the number continues to grow day by day. It is an epic failure. And the only one that has to own that is Mr. Trudeau, the Prime Minister of this country, and his cabinet ministers around the table with him. There were just very poor leadership decisions made in this scenario. Look, if a government is doing the job that it should be doing, it doesn't need to spend a ton of money for PR firms and storytellers and individuals who are going to use their social media platforms in order to try to, boost this government and make them look good. Ultimately, Trudeau was, he's attempting to pay for a cover-up of his mistakes.
When we return, we'll share some of the top local stories from this past week. And if you're watching us on YouTube, just a reminder to hit that like button and subscribe to all of our latest videos. And please follow Bridge City News on Twitter. Stay tuned. We'll have more big stories for you right after the break. Some healthcare centres around southern Alberta are in dire need of help. Milk River, Cardston and Raymond Health Centres are looking for volunteers to work throughout the day. Carmel Steele with AHS says volunteers are needed to do different roles throughout the centres.
All of our rural sites are starting to pick up some activity, and with COVID, it's been pretty quiet for our residents and patients with not having a lot of visitors in. So we are actively recruiting for a variety of roles. Many of them are sort of one-on-one visiting kind of things. So some pet visitation, that would be one-on-one. Musical instruments that preferably could travel, like a guitar. We do have some piano playing opportunities as well, but that would mean bringing people together in a group. So we're just trying to keep as flexible as we can with offering those.
Now, if you're interested in volunteering, you can reach out to AHS directly. All volunteers must be vaccinated against COVID-19. A new job vacancy rate report has been released, and the details are not good for the Lethbridge and Medicine Hat regions. The job vacancy rate in our region was up almost 4.5% in the third quarter of 2021. This number is the highest recorded since 2015. This means there are 5,545 job vacancies in our area. Trevor Lewington, the CEO of Economic Development Lethbridge, says the elevated job numbers and vacancies has continued to create a challenge for local businesses.
So, what it tells us is, things that we're hearing anecdotally on the street, and when you go to a business, people are having difficulty recruiting. And in particular, most of those vacancies are in this sales and service occupations, which, again, I don't think will surprise anyone. That's food service, that's accommodation, that's retail. These are the sectors that have been most disrupted, of course, by COVID and public health restrictions. So what it tells us is, employers are struggling to find talent and to attract and retain workers. And of course, we still have people that are unemployed or looking for work. And so the work of organizations like mine is to try and make sure we do a better job of connecting those two groups and solving that problem.
There are almost 2,500 more vacancies in our area than were reported in the same time period in 2019. Dr. Paula Burns has decided to step down as president and CEO from Lethbridge College and will be taking on a similar role at Langara College in Vancouver. Burns started with our college in 2013. BCN's Micah Quinn chatted with Burns, who spoke about some of her greatest achievements during her time here in our city.
It was a tough decision, but I am looking forward to the opportunity at Langara College in Vancouver.
Burns cites two things as just a few of her biggest accomplishments while at the college
There's so many things that stick out to me, but probably one of the things I'm most proud of is really the development of the leadership team. From the executive level to the deans and directors and throughout the college, we've really focused on people development, and we have a fantastic team here. The other thing I would say is our connection with the Indigenous community, having an honor song, getting a Blackfoot name, Okitoki Aquinima for Lethbridge College, and then my own personal Blackfoot name. Those things stand out for me as important things for our community.
Burns says it's vital to make sure that students from Lethbridge College are able to get their education completed and be able to head out into the world.
And I've been encouraging people through the pandemic to really think about your education and make that step into it now. Even some of our own staff we have encouraged to, now's a great opportunity to go back to school.
Board chair for the college, Michael Marcotte, says the Board of Governors will begin looking for a replacement for Burns immediately.
We're blessed to know that Paula will be here through the rest of this term, which gives us some time to kind of really take our time and make sure that the next leader here lines up very much with the strategies that Paula has put in place, and we can continue to do the great work that she's started here with her executive team.
Burns is the 8th president and CEO in Lethbridge College history. Her final day will be at the end of May. For Bridge City News, I'm Micah Quinn.
Students from the University of Lethbridge planned a student-led protest over the weekend to stand in solidarity for the university's faculty. The faculty has been without a contract for over 500 days, and there's a possibility that a strike or lockout could happen. Rebecca Roy, a student at the U of L, tells us why they're doing the protest.
We want to hold the board and administration accountable. You should be able to, the faculty should feel respected and acknowledged within their work. They're the backbone of our education. So to kind of undermine them and shorthand them in terms of like budget cuts and not giving them a contract and pushing to them to the point of a strike, it's not fair, and that needs to be addressed. And it's also not fair to students to push their teachers to the point of potentially striking, because then it impacts our education as well.
When we return, we'll chat with Lethbridge East MLA Nathan Newdorf to see if, like Quebec, Alberta's considering a tax for the unvaxxed. Stay tuned.
That is not the people of Alberta in any way, shape, or form. And I think we're actually much closer to moving towards a more productive and unifying kind of stage of this pandemic, towards that endemic stage.